It's Monday, January 24th, 2022, and the morning edition is live. On today's show, we've got you covered for back to school. We hear from the education minister, teachers weigh in, and parents getting in last-minute shopping. So let's start the morning off right.
The Morning Edition is brought to you by We Buy You Sell Company, your leading hurricane impact windows, doors, and tile specialist.
Good morning, Bahamas, and welcome to the Morning Edition. I'm Kelsey Johnson, and this is...
Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm Charles Fisher, all ready for the first day of school, and we must let our viewers know that we are on for an hour this morning with this back to school special. I always looked forward to the first day of school, but not the other days.
You sure you were looking forward to school or for lunch breaks?
Just to go to school to see who came in new, to wear your new clothes.
What kind of tennis or shoes you used to wear when you were in high school?
We had to wear flow shine in St. George. We couldn't wear, we had the starch and everything. So
like Tommy pants or anything?
No, Tommy. Gabardine.
Gabardine? In the hot sun?
I haven't heard that word in so long. Gabardine pants, flow shine.
You used to wear like corduroys in the Christmas?
Everything. I still wearing corduroy.
For real, for sure?
Yeah, old school. Like everything old school is coming back. Look at your hair.
My hair is not old school. Why? But what about your shirt? My hair's not old school.
What was
my
your
hair is actually new school.
What was your
This is a 60-second. I can take off. I told you this before. I can take off, put on, do whatever. And if you bet me, I will definitely come in here with a red wig tomorrow.
1960s. What was your favorite?
Bet me, please.
What was your favorite moment from high school?
Well, I loved physical education classes, obviously music classes, and I used to like this guy, Mr. Gomez. Oh, Fisher, her macaroni was to die for. Listen, with that curry and coleslaw.
So everybody knew that Kelsey went to school just for the lunch. But I remember this song. You remember this song? If you woke up in the morning, back to school and back to Flintstones with extra vitamin C.
Don't do that.
You don't remember that song?
I do.
I know
but
some
you're
of the old
showing
folks
your age.
I know some of the old folks remember that commercial on ABC when you had to send your granddaddy up on the roof and make sure the antenna was good.
I used to like the Flintstone vitamins.
Yes.
Can you bring me one tomorrow?
So I'll try and find them tomorrow. So it's back to school today. I know the kids are all excited to get back to school, and traffic is going to be busy this morning. I know somebody else who's excited about school opening this morning. Good morning, Desmond. How's traffic looking out there?
Traffic is heating up. The streets, as you can tell, heating up right here. I'm reporting live on Blue Hill Road at the entrance of the Essie McPherson School. And joining me this morning, Corporal Patrick Kemp. What are those key points for motorists at this time?
Good morning, Desmond. Good morning, Bahamas. And one of the key points that I'm going to encourage the drivers this morning is to drive with due care and attention. It is expected that some of the schools may be opening today, and even if that's not the case, as it may be, because we're here at the school, we haven't seen much activities already for this morning. It is still incumbent on the drivers out there to drive with due care and attention. Continue using your seatbelt. Minimize any distractions in those vehicles that can cause any potential accidents from occurring.
Any overnight incidents?
Well, from the last time we spoke, Desmond, this would have been on Friday. We was expecting to have a great evening with minimized activities. Well, let me tell you, this weekend was very active, especially when it concerns traffic collisions. We have had a number of traffic crashes. Reported to us would have been some 15 plus traffic crashes over the weekend. And again, it's due to persons not driving with due care and attention. Speed in a lot of those accidents did play a factor, and that is why you would have noticed throughout the island we are having a number of checks to minimize these offenses.
All right, so we're going to be targeting various areas of the capital as scores head back into the classrooms. Charles, back to you in the studio.
Well, we are waking up to 64 degrees. Winds at west-northwest at 40 miles per hour, humidity 70%. Now, a cold front continues to move slowly southward across the central Bahamas for the northwest and central Bahama. Weather mostly sunny today with a chance of isolated showers or thunderstorms, mainly in the vicinity of the front, fair and cool tonight. For the southeast Bahamas, mostly sunny with a chance of showers. Your daytime high temperature today, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, overnight low of 64. And as we look ahead to Tuesday and Wednesday, mostly sunny and pleasant on Tuesday, 76 in the day, 66 at night. And then on Wednesday, those dark clouds come in here, a brief shower or two, 80 in the day, 68 at night.
A homicide rocks an inner city community and leaves a Miami Street family mourning after a young mother was reportedly shot by her lover who turned the gun on himself in a suicide attempt. It was an emotional scene for family members overcome with grief near the inner city home where the shooting incident took place just before 6 o'clock Saturday evening. Police press liaison officer Superintendent Audley Peters spoke about what officers discovered when they reached on the scene.
They were directed to a single-story structure, and on entering this residence, they were led to a southwestern bedroom where they discovered the body of a male and female lying on the floor of that bedroom. Examination of the female revealed that she was unresponsive, and the male was suffering from gunshot wounds. Emergency medical services visited the scene, and following their assessment, the female was classified as lifeless, and the male was then transported to the hospital where he is presently being treated. Also transported to the hospital was a 1-month-old infant. The male and female are partners in a relationship, and shortly before the incident occurred, the male came to the residence and entered the room, locked the door behind him. Other members who were present at home heard gunshots, and on gaining entry into the residence, they found the male and female on the ground. The evidence indicates at this time that the male would have entered that residence, produced that firearm, and shot the female, and then turned the firearm on himself.
A traffic fatality on Long Island over the weekend, also claiming the life of 3 young men. Long Island police now investigating what led to the smash-up that occurred shortly after 9 o'clock Friday night. Dedmonds Key police were alerted to a traffic accident in the settlement of Mangrove Bush involving a vehicle that collided into a residence. Upon arrival to the scene, officers discovered a black Nissan Infiniti with extensive damage. That vehicle, occupied by 3 men, apparently overturned and was discovered resting on the driver's side after the collision. After an assessment, officers found 2 of the men were unresponsive. The local doctor later pronounced both men dead. The 3rd occupant was airlifted to New Providence for further medical attention. However, midday Saturday, officials confirmed that the 3rd victim succumbed to his injuries. A multi-agency approach led to the apprehension of 88 migrants on the high seas on Friday. Officials from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and Operation Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, or OPBAT, coordinated the operation. OPBAT reported a sighting of a Haitian sloop 18 nautical miles west of Matthewtown, Inagua. Defense Force vessels HMBS Nassau and Leon Livingston Smith then proceeded to the area to investigate. As a result, the sloop was apprehended with 76 males and 12 females on board. The migrants were transported to Inagua for further processing. 69 new cases of COVID-19 reported in the Ministry of Health's latest release, 46 in New Providence, 8 in Grand Bahama, 7 in Exuma, and 2 each in Abaco, Eleuthera, Andros, and Long Island. 48 are females. Hospitalizations stand at 155, with 12 of those cases in the intensive care unit. There have been 39 new recoveries, with 7,483 cases remaining active. Even though the latest positive COVID-19 cases are down, the question still remains whether the country has peaked during the 4th wave of COVID. Pan American Health Organization Country Representative Dr. Eldona Bosin had this to say.
Difficult to say. It does appear on a first look as if it has peaked because maybe a couple weeks ago, the daily numbers were much higher. So they rose very quickly, very steeply, and they appear to be coming down. But it is still early days because Omicron is quickly moving around the globe. And of course, borders are not closed here, and we have continuous movement. We have movement of persons within the country in any case to go about the daily business. So it appears as though it may have peaked, but I wouldn't want to say so definitively. I would want to keep an eye on it for another couple of weeks to see what continues to happen.
We Buy You Sell offers the best in impact windows and doors. The first line of defense in protecting your home and family with premium designs and affordable pricing. We can make your dream home a reality. We also stock a wide variety of tiles such as porcelain, mosaic, and plank tiles. We offer the lowest rates in the country. Located at number 163 Robinson Road. Call 677-2856 or 324-6427. We Buy You Sell. Come and see us today.
Fixed and mobile services provided by Cable Bahamas Business Solutions helps our customers help their customers adapt to the new way of paying for things. Digital Wallets makes your transactions faster, more convenient, and secure. Whether it's using a debit card at the grocery store or making online payments for your monthly expenses, Digital Wallets powered by Cable Bahamas Business Solutions makes it better. For more information on our fixed and mobile services, contact the experts at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Islands.
With government schools opening today, Minister of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, the Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, addressing the nation last night.
In a recent UNESCO, UNICEF, and World Bank joint report, the question is asked, and I quote, "How should decision makers and the international community respond to the growing global education crisis?" The answer, and I quote, "Reopening schools and keeping them open must be the top priority globally." While nearly every country in the world offered remote learning opportunities for students, the quality and reach of such initiatives varied, and in most cases, they offered a poor substitute for in-person instruction. Stemming and reversing learning losses, especially for the most vulnerable students, requires in-person schooling, and I end quote. Every week lost in learning is damaging to our children. For this reason, the Davis administration has always remained insistent on the need to open schools for face-to-face learning. We were initially held up by the fact that the previous administration had not made progress on school repairs during the time of school closures. We acted on that issue immediately, and we were set to resume in-person learning on January 11th. Well, as we all know, that plan was delayed by the emergence of the highly contagious Omicron variant that resulted in record levels of COVID-19 infections throughout the country. We could not simply allow schools to reopen without considering this new threat. The Ministry of Education regrouped, planned, and collaborated with the Ministry of Health to come up with a hybrid approach that we believe allows for in-person learning to be conducted as safely as possible. I want to be clear. We fully expected that the necessary preparations were being made for the January 11th reopening. And when that reopening was postponed, the Minister of Health, myself, and the Prime Minister all made it clear that we did not anticipate that the reopening would be delayed for very long, and that the country should brace for an imminent return to school. At the end of December, I stated that we expected the planned January 11th reopening to be postponed by 2 weeks, as we initiated further mitigation efforts to ensure that schools could reopen safely. On January 11th, in a conversation with media at Sybil Strawn Primary School, the Prime Minister indicated to the media that he expected schools to be reopened within 2 weeks. January 24th makes 13 days since the Prime Minister made that statement. So said, so done. We then provided an update several days in advance of the reopening of the 24th. Given the government's repeated communications to the public regarding the fact that the timeline for schools to reopen would be in a matter of weeks, we fully expect that education professionals remained at the ready for the eventual return to the classroom.
The timeline may be a bit truncated for some, and we acknowledge that. But we must also acknowledge that we are in the midst of an educational crisis that demands a degree of urgency. This first week, commencing the 24th of January, has been deemed a transitional week, allowing each individual school administration, teachers, students, and parents to reacclimatize to face-to-face instruction. In the first phase, children who do not have uniforms are free to come to school appropriately dressed. Going forward, we will work closely with the Ministry of Social Services to assure that children needing assistance are able to access same in an efficient manner.
Joining us live in studio this morning is the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, the Honorable Minister Zane Lightbourne. Good morning, Minister, and welcome to the Morning Edition.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Bahamas.
Now, Minister, we know thousands of students across the country in the government school system will be heading back to school in a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. Talk about the rollout plan that your ministry has.
Well, we want schools to each have their individual plans because they would have communicated with their parents, assessed their state of readiness, and also acknowledged the urgency in which they needed to get students back. That's the exam students, that's some of the new students who have to be orientated into the system. And we have responded by making sure all of our health and safety protocols are followed. This is a very, it's a matter of health. And it's very important for us to get school going in this manner. So the plans include a plan collectively as a group, what education expects at the ministry level and at the department level, and then the plan for each school in making sure that you can properly transition your students back to school.
Was it a difficult decision asking persons or parents to send their kids back to school, especially knowing that we were on a virtual platform for so long?
Parents were so excited about doing it because, you know, this is a national effort. This is more than just parents and children. This is a national effort that's going to take all of us to make it happen. Parents must work in order to sustain their lives and lives of their children, in order to provide for them. We realize that it has been a long time. The best mode of education for us is to have a face-to-face mode of education. That's where teachers can use their resources efficiently that they have physically for students who they have to reach, special needs students. It's been a difficult time for them. And so we know that this is going to work in this mode better than it has for technical or fully virtual education, because it's so much other challenges involved in fully virtual platforms where students were absent, in a lot of cases could not get online for whatever reason. It varies across the board, and we've been doing assessments to see if we can assess that properly so that we can respond properly.
Now, Minister, you spoke about the challenges on the virtual platform. How do we make sure that our students who are returning to the classroom, that they catch up, especially those persons who are missing out on those virtual classes?
In the urgency in dealing with this matter, the Minister of Education, the Honorable Glenys Hanna-Martin, she put together a task force from stakeholders across the board who are helping to assess the learning loss and then respond. Because students' catch-up process, it varies from age level to sometimes social circumstances. So what we want to do is make sure that we assess students properly, we evaluate where they are and what they need to catch up. We're going to look at the curriculum, how heavy that may be for some students who can't take right now the myriad of courses across the board, cut the ones that aren't as vital or urgent, address literacy, which has been a big loss and has been a challenge over the years. This competency in literacy, if we can do that properly, I know that students can easily catch up in other subjects because it gives them the capacity to be able to address other subject matters, even in matters where they have to use their hands.
We spoke about the challenges that the students may face or might have faced during the virtual platforms, but what about the teachers? What about their mental state, them feeling overwhelmed now that the students are returning back to school and they have to ensure that these students who fell behind or fall behind will be able to catch up now?
Teachers and administrators have an awesome job. They had an awesome job during the pandemic, and they're looking forward, on the most part, of coming back in the mode that they know. We had to make sure that teachers also had the necessary equipment and supplies in some cases, and that wasn't always the case with connectivity. Electricity plays a factor to make sure everything is reliable for them to function. So this mode of learning, we know it has been stressful for teachers. The minister and myself, we've met with teachers across the board, and this has been done for the first time in my memory in a very, very long time, where we wanted to hear directly from them, to hear what's going on the ground, what their expectations are, their challenges are, because we want to be able to give teachers the tool that they need. These are our customer service providers. Our students are our customers. And we have to make sure that our teachers are satisfied and comfortable that their resources are being provided for them, whether it's assistance at a national ministry or department level, and also that we pay attention to what they need and what they assess to be able to address students with learning loss, because the recovery is going to take all of us.
Now, Minister, in the past, your ministry only had to worry about or focus on school repairs. Now we have to make sure that we have hand sanitizers, all of the other safety protocols and services implemented in the school system. If you could just address how the ministry was able to outfit all of the schools in such a short time.
Well, this is not something that we have just gone into. When COVID hit, we had an initial shutdown, and then we went into a virtual mode in some cases, hybrid mode in some cases, and then there are some schools and some islands, like Grand Bahama, who functioned fully face-to-face for some time. Only when cases had spiked and we had to take or make adjustments to the system, we would have had some level, a high level of interruption in what schools had initially responded to. And so the supplying of our hand sanitizers, the supplying of masks, and all of the necessary signage that were needed for students to know where to go, and the protocols in entering and leaving schools, those were already in place. This is just reintroducing that, because this was only a full 2 weeks that almost 2 weeks that we have been in fully virtual. Before that, schools were in the hybrid model in this COVID environment. And so whilst it's a challenge, because you have to make sure the resources are available for it, we have had the schools outfitted, and we are here to respond also if there are schools that don't have supplies. That is an immediate response. But districts have been working with schools, and the ministry has been providing the necessary support and assistance for this to happen.
I call this particular phase Plan A. Plan B in my book is what happens if we were to have a case or two or an outbreak in one of the schools. What is the next step for the Ministry of Education?
Well, this was always a concern from we started. If we have a case in a particular school, we have nurses in place. This entire effort was led by the Minister of Health and Wellness and his team. The doctors were guiding us along the way. They're the ones who initiated the type of learning, or at least guided us where they had to. They stated what type of learning we can go into, or what mode of teaching and learning we can go into. And this has been guided fully by the medical professionals. And so the response is what it has been for some time, just modified now with this new variant also. And also with the recruitment of new nurses in the system, getting them in the schools, having isolated rooms, that is new, for students to be able to, if they identified as being exposed, they can be in isolation where they are being dealt with by medical professionals without exposing other persons on campus. Similarly, teachers' areas in cases where, teachers are not always sitting directly in the vicinity 3 feet or less of children. In most classes, there is a distance protocol that can easily be adhered to, and especially with this now hybrid mode of learning, we have less students in the classroom just so that we can properly address the distancing protocol or demands that are necessary to mitigate against COVID spread.
Now today is a special day worldwide. It's International Day of Education. Minister, if you can just, in 30 seconds or less, shoot us and tell us what it's all about.
It's a recognition day for education, for the importance of education of our children. Nations grow through the strength of their education system. Our educational system has faced challenges like everyone else's globally who had to deal with this COVID pandemic. and we understand the importance of it. So we recognize as a recognition day for the importance of education to every country and every nation. So it's an international recognition, and we want our students to understand, our teachers and parents to understand how important this is for our government, for our administration to do this right, because we have to rescue and save a nation.
Well, Minister, before you go, I must say happy birthday to you. And I promised you I was going to sing, so drum roll.
Please don't, please.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Minister. Woo! Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Fisher, I could sing.
Thank you so much.
Minister, I hope you get a better gift later on today, but that is not the way to start your morning. Happy birthday to you. My baby Charlie also celebrates a birthday today. Happy birthday to my baby.
Happy birthday, Charlie. Charlie, I will sing for you later. But right now, it's all about the minister, and I'm going to get signed as one of the music teachers. I'm pretty sure he has the contract drawn up. His secretary is here with him. I'm going to sign. I'm going to bid you guys farewell because I'm going with the minister as a music teacher.
Thank you. That was.
And Kelsey, we have lots more stuff coming up here. Coming up here this morning, we're also going to speak with psychologist Dr. Sean about children, the mentality of kids getting back to school. But you were up and about recently talking about school repairs, and the minister indicated it just now. You have a story coming up on that.
Yes, I spoke to Director of Education, Mr. Marcellus Taylor, who was telling us about not only the school repairs and what they had to undergo in that 2-week period, but also Mr. Taylor spoke to us about the safety protocols that they have implemented in the school system. Here's that report.
Director of Education Marcellus Taylor outlining the safety protocols that are in place for the reopening of schools this morning. The 85-page document addresses the concerns of a safe reopening of schools. It also speaks to social distancing and guided lunch breaks. Taylor says the additional information added complements the changes made last academic year when students were on campus for more than 3 to 4 months.
We think that those protocols are quite strong, quite good. The Ministry of Health has reviewed them, and they've endorsed them, and they're quite happy with what we've done. They've actually even come on the ground and made inspections to see how it actually unfolds, and they were quite pleased with what they saw. So we're confident that we have those protocols and procedures down pat. We continue to provide as much in the way of supplies, face masks, for instance, for people who might not have, or might need a new one in a kind of emergency situation, sanitizers and other things to cleaning supplies, also to kind of mitigate the spread.
Taylor says the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training is working closely with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
When we went to school last academic year, the Ministry of Health was in a position to provide us with nurses for virtually every school who was stationed there all day. And in 1 or 2 instances, a nurse may have served as an itinerant between 2 schools. They have assured us that they will make every effort to do the same this year, and we are confident that they will deliver on their promise.
Taylor says a guided system is in place for teachers, students, and even lunch vendors.
We provided training for lunch vendors, for bus drivers, for janitorial staff, and all persons involved in the delivery services to our schools, so that they could know what is expected and they will know how to deliver on those expectations. So again, we are confident that will go without incident.
Watching the ZNS Kids Club.
My name is Kyle Jones. I go to one-on-one preschool and I love watching the ZNS Kids Club. Hi, I'm Toronto Fairview Academy and I love watching the ZNS Kids Club.
Welcome back, Fisher.
We're ready? Are you ready for school? Only thing I don't miss is being out there now in that traffic.
Yes.
Up and down, traffic be hectic. I'm out early morning, I normally get there.
I walked to school when I went to school.
No, I got dropped. My mom dropped me.
Yeah, C.R. Walker is literally right there. I used to stand on the balcony. He had the first bell ring. And then
you look like you're getting ready to cry. You miss your high school days.
I told you C.R. Walker is the best school in the country. I don't know what you want to say about St. John's, if you want to give them a plug. But C.R. Walker is definitely the best school in the country. I stood on the balcony, I heard the bell ring, and Howard Newball was our principal. And he used to be like, Kelsey, why are you late? You live right across the street. I say, sir, I'm tired.
We're talking about up and down this morning. Desmond Sanders, he was at SEMA First and earlier this morning. Now, where you at, Desmond?
Well, I'm presently at R.M. Bailey Park, actually Robinson Road, where things are heating up. Activity is picking up here on Robinson Road. A very active scene, I must say. But before we get into traffic news, I had an opportunity, Charles, to speak to several educators about school preparations.
This particular environment, I feel like fun day. I can't wait for Monday to come.
Senior Master of the T.G. Glover School, Dion Johnson, optimistic of this morning's school reopening. He says his school has put in place strict COVID-19 protocols and guidelines, and teachers are ready to begin face-to-face instruction in the hybrid model.
You have the safety protocols as it relates to social distancing, the markers on the ground, the separation of students as it relates to when they sit down in the classroom. We also establish mask breaks at different times, variables. We allow teachers to understand too that you can be innovative and take your class outside for much needed outside air and freshness. And of course, as the ministry would have done throughout the Commonwealth, they would have added UV lights in most of those environments that have air conditions and put openings so that they can receive fresh central air.
Similar measures also in place at the Stephen Dillard Primary School. School principal Clinton Josie says school preparation started 3 months ago, and the institution is prepared to welcome some 200 students.
The entire school grades will be present from preschool to grade 6, but definitely you will have half of each one of those grade levels coming in. Once students appear to this gate, of course there is a temperature check and hand sanitizing here at the gate, and certainly they move towards their classrooms, and once they arrive at the classroom, the continual socialization, the continual social distance continue, and then they move into their classrooms, and then we have a routine for the entire day. We're talking about staggered break time, staggered lunch time, and then the constant monitoring of our bathroom facilities, and definitely our teachers, our teachers' aid, the janitorial staff, the security staff, administration. We all know what the plan is, and we'll definitely activate those plans and ensure that we mitigate against the spread of COVID-19.
With growing concerns of the Omicron variant and as the raging COVID-19 crisis continues to impact the Bahamas, educators hope the resumption of school will turn a new page for education in the Bahamas. Well, as articulated, I'm on Robinson Road. Activity is picking up. Motorists are beginning to traverse their way through the city. And joining me live this morning, Corporal Patrick Camp. Seatbelt use, excessive speed, still a major concern.
It is. It is still a concern of ours. It should be a concern of everybody, because when it concerns your safety and the lives and the safety of your passengers, you'll want to utilize your seatbelt. It does help to save life. Also, when it concerns speed, there is again no need for the excessive speed. The speed limit is in place for persons to get to their various destinations on time and in a safely manner. Also, I want to send a caution out to drivers out there that when you enter into these school zones, to please be mindful that as we move into where the schools are now reopening, to be mindful of the students and persons picking up and dropping off their loved ones to these various destinations. We don't want any incidents when it concerns our little kids in these areas.
All right. Thank you very much, Corporal Patrick Camp, joining us on the broadcast this morning. Reporting live from Robinson Road, guys. Back to you in the studio.
Well, thanks a lot, Desmond. From one spot to the next, he's ready for school.
He is a busy bee.
Well, we have an exciting segment coming up following this. We're going to talk with Dr. Sean Knowles. mental health and the kids going back to school. Some of these kids have not been in the classroom for over 2 years. I was on a 6 weeks vacation, and when I came back, it was hard for me to adjust. So imagine them coming back after 2 years. That's coming up after the break.
Ever since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom suffered violence, and the violence took it by storm, calling the afflicted, calling all souls in despair. Welcome to the Voice of Deliverance telecast from the ministry that is reaching out all over the land, delivering souls and changing lives.
The Voice of Deliverance. We're on the move for the Lord. The Voice of Deliverance. We've got a message from the Word.
Andros is the #1 bone fishing destination on our planet. Sports fishermen visit our flats every year to participate in one of the most fulfilling outdoor activities known to man, fly fishing. And guess what? It's 100% sustainable. Without areas like the west side of Andros, sustaining this industry would be absolutely impossible. So let's take care of nature, and nature will take care of us.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us live in studio is Dr. Sean Knowles. He is a mental health physician at the Sandlands Rehabilitation Center as well as Emmanuel Clinic. Good morning, Dr. Knowles, and welcome to the Morning Edition.
Yes, good morning, Kelsey and Charles. Thank you so much for having me.
You could only have said Kelsey at this point in time because we all know that Fisher has a mental issue right now. But let's get back to the seriousness of the interview. If we could just talk about the mental state of students returning to the classroom. I know a lot of them, especially those who weren't able to log on, they may be feeling a little defeated going up against their peers.
Yes, well, definitely. I think the first thing that's important is to realize that it's okay to not feel okay. That's the first thing. And certainly we have an immense situation on our hands, but I want to encourage the students, to give it their best, give it their all. Some will be very excited to get back to school, and that's good. And some may, unfortunately, be having some anxiety because of what has been happening. And I think it's imperative that not only parents, but teachers and even guidance counselors to be aware of kids who may be affected to the point where they're unable to learn as they should. So a study that was done, for instance, by the Journal of American Medical Association Pediatrics, they found that during the COVID pandemic, that in 29 studies and a meta-analysis that involving over 80,000 students, that a lot of these kids were battling anxiety and depression. And so it will be no different here. And I think it's important now that we are getting back to school in the hybrid model, which I think is excellent, for persons to be aware of that and to give these kids the help that they need.
At the start of your interview, you said that it's okay to be okay. But how do I express that I am not okay to a teacher or to a student who may bully me or a teacher who doesn't know me?
Yes, so very good question. And, looking at the primary school level, some kids may not be able to express that. But if you notice a change in their behavior, perhaps if they're disruptive or their behavioral challenges, some may just have outbursts. That may be a sign that, that this child is going through something. So therefore, we need to act. For the older kids, it may be violence. It may be, again, outbursts. Some of them may even be using substances like alcohol and marijuana. So again, it's a matter of every person, all of the staff being aware of the students, and if there are any challenges, be sure to, have a conversation with them. And for those who may outrightly say, I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling sad, that's definitely more than needed for them to get the help that they need.
If we're going to focus on those students who are in grade 9, grade 12, grade 6, who are about to take national exams in a couple of months, how can we ensure that their mental state is workable in the classroom and they can go to teachers and make sure that they're getting the work done?
Well, definitely ensuring that there's some degree of normalcy, even though we are still in a pandemic, but as best as we can, create a normal life for them. And so that will be inclusive of basic necessities that need to take place, ensuring that they're getting adequate sleep, ensuring that they're having good diet, encouraging them. You know, a lot of kids sadly may be in homes where there's a lot of tension. And so if they're not getting any positive feedback, of course, that's going to have an effect on your mental state. And so just speaking positively into them and letting them know that, hey, you can do this. And of course, giving them the tools and resources that they need. You know, one of the things that I'm concerned about, and I think it was reported in the minister's speech last night, is that some 8,000 kids did not even log on online, virtually. So there's a concern. And so now we have to make sure that we have the remedial resources available to help these kids so that they can at least be on par in terms of literacy and numeracy.
Mental health is also a concern for our parents who had to stay home and do the virtual classes. How can they adjust from virtual to hybrid? Because remember now, some students will only go to school Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So that means the adjustment will also have to be made on Tuesdays and Thursdays for that household.
Yes, so again, we're all human beings. So parents, you know, we expect them to be able to provide and to nurture their children. But of course, we as parents go through issues as well. And so again, if any parent is struggling with any kind of issues, anxiety, depression, not sleeping well, not concentrating, worrying about finances, that they should seek help where they can. In terms of now readjusting, I think a lot of parents may be a little excited now that kids are able to get out of the home to go back to school. And so I think it's important that parents encourage other parents, at each other. I would even go as far as to say, you know, with the technology we have today, that perhaps you may want to form, you know, classrooms, WhatsApp social groups so parents can connect and stay in contact with each other and encourage each other. So this is an issue that all of us are affected by, and all hands are on board, and we need to make this work.
Dr. Knowles, on a personal question, how can I make sure that my co-host Charles Fisher gets the mental help that he needs?
Well, the first thing, Kelsey, I would say is to ask Charles, how is he doing? And if Charles says that he is not doing well, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with him and start his treatment process immediately. So just keep in mind, Charles, it may be that you may need some medication, and there's no shame in getting medication if that is so.
Dr. Knowles, I think I'm going to unmic him, and you both can walk into the lobby and you can speak with him personally, because I really believe something is going on upstairs with you.
Only Kelsey can get away with that. Well, we passed by Janae's Uniform Center as school opened to just see how shopping was being done.
As the number one supplier, we are definitely happy with what's going on, and we hope to see a lot of customers come into the store over the next few days and get ready for back to school. You know, parents must be kind of exhausted with the kids at home every day. You know, they go in the refrigerator, they put on a little weight, and, you know, it's got to get some new uniforms. So we're certainly looking forward to that.
Over the weekend, a few parents were getting in those last-minute shopping.
Well, we've seen an increase in the telephone customers where people are calling in looking for that. Different types of uniform. We've seen people come in checking on prices, etc. So there's definitely an uptick. We would have hoped that there would have been a little bit more notice, because it was sort of like, you know, 48 hours to get ready to go back to school. That's a big task for a uniform business, particularly while we're coming out of Christmas decorations, etc. While they had announced that school was not going to open, we did not see any customers looking for uniforms for the past 3-4 weeks, but definitely we've seen people looking into the store trying to get uniforms.
Now, despite that somewhat short notice, the store has the inventory in place and seems ready for the demand.
We've always been ready. We have inventory in stock for most schools. We're stuck with a 1 or 2 item, but I believe we can supply the majority of the items that customers are looking for. We're definitely ready. I wouldn't say we have everything in stock, but I would think we have about 95% of the inventory that people are looking for here at Janae's. So definitely come and give us a try. If we don't have an item, we can actually manufacture it if we don't have it in stock for you. So I wouldn't say every school, because there's some real small schools that we don't tend to cater to. But the government school, the major private schools, several of the small schools we do, but definitely yes.
And those that may be looking for deals from a store that normally gives special deals?
For the moment, we're not looking to do any special deal. We think, you know, the government has offered a 10% reduction in the VAT rate, which really gives people a better opportunity in terms of prices. So we expect that it would carry forward. We have been sort of struggling in the business with uniform for the past few years, with on again, off again, virtual learning, etc. in school. So we do not foresee us making any sales over this period because we're not quite sure.
Service announcement is brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with this channel. Students without uniform must be dressed appropriately. Here's a list of what not to wear. Crocs, bubblegum jeans, shorts, open-toe slippers, graphic t-shirts, hoodies, t-shirts with words, furry clothes, glittery clothes, jewelry, spaghetti straps, hair extensions, This public service announcement was brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with this channel.
Now, even though students may not need those uniforms, they will definitely need those supplies. And here's Lloyd Allen with that.
Schools around the country are set to welcome through a hybrid model around 65,000 students as health officials continue to monitor COVID numbers. But with final purchases around the capital centered at bookstores, shoe stores, and wholesale distributors, many are looking toward Monday's reopening with optimism. As our news team traversed the island, we encountered classrooms being prepped by anxious students and teachers, and some stores with lines wrapped around the building. Over at Island Wholesale, while there was not a significant crowd, store officials confirmed that sales had increased in recent days. A different story, however, unfolding at Book World and Stationers in Palmdale, where since the start of the day, shoppers got out quite early. But according to manager Darren Wong, this semester most purchases have centered around COVID prevention supplies rather than textbooks.
More sanitizing equipment, masks, of course, because they're going into school now, and maybe some shields or whatever they need, and sanitizers. That's maybe some of the things they want to pick up. A lot of parents already have supplies and books and textbooks and that sort of issue because of Zoom. They need it for teaching their kids at home and so on and so forth, and all the trials of getting it online.
Although virtual learning has surfaced as the leading platform, this store remains hopeful for sales on school essentials.
When once they get in school, they'll realize they're missing this or that, or the teachers have asked them, "Oh, can you get some of this? It's not on the list, but it's new." So, but we've been keeping our inventory up.
Wong explains because of COVID forcing stores like Book World to order months in advance, charting the course for purchasing stock remains an uphill battle.
If we order ahead of time for normal shipping from places like the UK, it arrived like months later due to the backlog of ships, and I think off of California. That's been one of the detriments of this year's back to school. And also a lot of the black and white books and school supplies like that, they've been coming out of the Far East, and the shipping prices have been skyrocketed.
Despite those concerns, businesses like this remain in the fight to keep their doors open.
As an artist, I travel all over the world, and I find inspiration all around me. From the people, and especially the environment. I love the Bahamas with all its natural beauty. From Abaco in the north to Inagua in the south, and all the wonderful and colorful islands in between. But we must all do our part to keep the Bahamas healthy and clean, now and for the future generations. That's why I want you to find a little time to do your part. I'm doing my part because I care. Do you?
While it's encouraging that the national COVID-19 vaccine rollout is going successfully, it's not the only precaution to reduce the spread of the virus in our communities. It's important to continue practicing safety protocols because it is our social responsibility to protect ourselves and to protect others.
Wash your hands for a friend with a weaker immune system.
Only read and share information
from trusted sources to avoid unnecessary panic.
I'm gonna need y'all to avoid these large crowds. We could have loved ones at home who have underlying health conditions. Do it.
Practicing safety protocols is an act of brotherly and sisterly love.
The life you save may just be yours as well as your neighbor.
Together we will win.
We will win.
We're also getting ready for back to school in Grand Bahama.
Happy to return. We support the government on the fact that school should open and we should be back in school.
Fact coming from union representatives on Grand Bahama who say the time has come to head back to the classrooms. Led by District Superintendent for the Northern Bahamas, Ivan Butler, union officials were taken on a tour of the schools on Grand Bahama to assess whether or not the schools were in good physical condition for the students to return safely.
With the exception of some minor repairs, we do believe that we are ready to accept our students. The teachers are eager. We just visited one of our primary school, and the consensus from the teachers that they are willing and able and can't wait to accept their students come Monday.
And with such short notice, Butler is encouraging parents to not let anything deter them from sending their kids back to school come Monday. He says the only exception should be if they are exhibiting symptoms.
We don't want parents to keep their children home for any reason, uniform, books, no reason. We want our students to come to school to begin the process. We want to start our educational process of, getting our students ready for national exams, getting our students ready just to be back in a face-to-face mood with their teachers.
He says all safety protocols will be in effect as no more than 20 students will be in a class 3 feet apart. But here's what the union reps had to say.
Administrators are excited. The district is excited. We have been in school last year, which the country probably will not be aware of, but we were able to function with the right protocols in place. And so we're excited to open in Grand Bahama. The children are waiting, teachers are excited, and administration say, let's go, let's get started. For the return on Monday, when we got the information, teachers are ready to go back to school. We know it may be a little short notice, but in walking with the Ministry of Education and with BEMU, we recognize that the classes are ready. Everything that's supposed to be placed in order seemed to be in order.
Major believes that this has been long overdue.
We cannot base everything on just one island. Every island has its own unique problems. So if the island of Grand Bahama can open and be face-to-face, why not?
As Gibson shares the only challenge that she foresees thus far.
We do have some challenges with the shortages of custodial staff at a few of our institutions, and I believe that the minister is working very hard to get those persons in place, and I do ensure that they will be in place by Monday.
The social distancing.
Social distancing, that's a challenge because children are excited to see each other. And so as much as you can say, step away, keep within 6 feet, when you turn your back, they'll go back in hugs. But I think everything is done in decency.
Students and teachers in Abaco are still adjusting to a hurricane. Now they're going to try to adjust to getting back into school life.
Pastor J. Bethel and Sherlyn C. Boodle will open first in the virtual environment. Sherlyn C. Boodle is still under repair, and Pastor J. Bethel, we are experiencing some staff shortage there. The ministry has endeavored to hire some teachers, but that process is still ongoing. And so that particular school, that's the high school that will open in the virtual environment. But our smaller schools, though they will start in the hybrid mode, if they have the right conditions, we have been given permission to have them go full face-to-face. But of course, we're going to start in the hybrid mode because of the protocols that have been established.
Superintendent Dominique Russell also indicating that funding has not been like it was in the past.
We got assistance from Rotary last year. I think they were able to raise $102,000 worth of data plans for our teachers and our children. We don't have access to that this year. Now, we do have schools that have fiber cable optics or whatever you call it from BTC and from, I think there's another company, Walker's Industries, have outfitted some of our schools. We still have a few schools that need to be outfitted, but yes, connectivity is a serious issue. We've also had issues with electricity. You know, it goes off often, especially in the central area, and that's where our biggest challenge is in terms of our children. And so we are really grateful to be able to utilize the hybrid mode, even though Patrick J. Bethel will not be able to at the onset. But Central Abaco Primary, which also has over 500 children, will be allowed to have their children come to the school campus, and we're really excited about that.
Well, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, also putting some protocols in place as students return to the classroom.
And it's a particular concern for children not being at school. It's been a long time, and for some children, not being at school in of itself puts them at a risk. So because schools are really subsets of the community, and as you rightly said, we are going through a fourth wave here in the Bahamas, it's imperative that schools have protocols in place to protect their student and staff population while school is going on. These will very much mimic the protocols that we have for the rest of the country. You know, the masking, the distancing, the hand washing, the making sure that sick persons do not attend school, both students and staff. Ongoing surveillance and monitoring to ensure if anybody does become ill, that the appropriate contact tracing takes place, and so on and so on.
As government students head to the classroom on the international scene, it's International Educational Day, and Lloyd Allen has the report.
Students of today would agree that the process of education is changing, but for retired educator Elma Garraway, as much as things change, they remain the same. Starting her career as a student teacher, Garraway explains the profession as a ministry and one which continues to create a feeling of honor.
When I started teaching in 1962, we got £12 per month. £12 then was equivalent to less than $50. And so it was a labor of love, and it was a purpose of life.
Referencing National Geographic and the radio as some of the early teaching resources she utilized, Garraway says her success came through a combination of being firm, fair, and kind, but also challenging her students.
My sixth graders read Animal Farm for the fun of reading a book, but they soon found out that this was about governments, and they were able to point out who were the boxers and who were the various animal characters within that book. I told them my students learned the quality of mercy is not strain. Portia's speech from The Merchant of Venice. They read.
And as the world braces for yet another year of COVID protocols, Garraway is reminding all stakeholders that it still takes a village to raise a child.
Parents, children are gifts from God to you. I know there are many stressors in this environment and in life as a whole, but there are persons who can give you support. Members of the society, there must be congruence between what we say and what we do, because education is a lifelong process.
What else you know about this ting-a-ling-a-ling, the school bell soon ring? As for how things are going on before kids head back to school, we check in with Desmond once again.
Thank you very much, Charles. We're on the East-West Highway, Corporal Patrick Camp. What are those tips for motorists for back to school as we end?
Well, and again, Mr. Sanders, I want to encourage the drivers to the police, especially when it concerns the traffic light, to adhere to the rules and the regulations. They are there for your protection, for your safety, and the safety of your family. We have a lot of concerns of persons still going through the red light, okay, and stop signs. Those stop signs, going through the stop sign, Desmond, is equivalent in penalties to running the traffic light. Okay, it does carry a stiff fine of $250. So I want this person to please be mindful to be your brother's keepers, respect one another on the street to get to your various destinations in a safe and a timely manner.
And as schools head back to the classrooms, be very safe and adhere to the rules of the road. Back to you, Charles, in the studio.
Well, Kelsey, it's going to be a busy day out there on the streets. I'm so excited. I wish I was going back to school today, but it's back to work.
I just want a hot party during break time.
Well, everybody out there, make sure that you continue to be safe. The kids will be back on the street, so drive with extreme caution and care. Thanks for watching. That hour went by pretty fast.
Yes, it has. And I'm going to make sure that Dr. Knowles see you when we get off air.
Enjoy your day, everybody.